Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So before we get started, we're going to actually start with a song that is not in your prayer book, but you don't need it because it has one word, Haida. There you go. That's the whole song right there. Good night. Now, I wanted to quickly introduce Guy Nelson. He is not only stepping in after Joel has moved to California. He will also be playing the piano with us for Swingin' Shushan. You got a sampling right there, right? Swingin' Shushan, Purim, March 24th. And he's also graciously letting us borrow his keyboard equipment tomorrow night for our celebration of 30 years of Beit Aleph on Mercer Island. So you'll be seeing quite a bit of him. So thank you. Thank you. All right, we're going to start with Haida. And please don't let me stop you if you want to stand up and dance.
Shabbat Shalom, welcome. Bruchim Habayim, blessed are you who have come to this place to celebrate on this first Shabbat in March 1st. It's so good to see all of you here. Welcome to all of you who are participating from home and joining us in this space as we are connected through the ether. Wherever you are in the world, you're here, you're with us. This is your home. This is your place. So I'd like to invite you to step fully into this space if you're here with us, into this time, if you're connected through our broadcast. Just to close your eyes for a few moments and to pay attention to your breath. The breath of life that flows through us like a miracle every moment. And to turn your attention inward. Just to check in with yourself. How am I tonight? How am I doing? How am I doing right now? What are the emotions that are here? What are the sensations that are here? What are the thoughts that are here? And to embrace it all. to welcome it all right here. And to let yourself just be surrendered into this space, into this time, into this moment. To know that there is nothing else you must do but be here. Everything else in your life, everything else can wait until after tonight, until after Shabbat. You can turn off the news. Everything will be waiting for you Saturday night, Sunday morning. Right now, this is the gift you gift yourself. Unplugging. Connecting to the heart space. Connecting to the love and the compassion that is always the source of our being. Our true nature. Let go a little more now. Surrender a little more. You're almost here. You're almost at Shabbat. And now open your eyes. Maybe for some of us, we're already here. Some of us have fallen asleep already. Some of us, it might take a few more minutes. But that's why we are entering into Shabbat together. That's why we are giving ourselves this space. The next 3 or 4 hours we'll be here together tonight. Because that's what it takes, really. Maybe 5 hours, we'll see. I got a lot to talk about. The second thing we do just after, we kind of check in like this and create the spaciousness inside ourselves is we turn our attention outward again. But we turn our attention outward from that grounded space, from that heart space within us, because now we see the world differently. Now we see the world with a different opening, with a different embrace. And when we do that, we start to take the pulse of those who may be in need out there, things that we can tangibly do to support and heal those here in our neighborhoods, in our cities, those across the world. And we do that, we practice this opening of the heart through tangible means, through the act of tzedakah. Tzedakah is an act of charity, is an act really of justice. We share of our financial abundance with those who may be in need. But again, from that opening, from that groundedness, from that center, from that wide open heart. And this month, at least through the month of March, we are sharing our tzedakah, the community's tzedakah, 50% with HIAS. HIAS is the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, drawing on our Jewish values of inclusivity, of welcoming, drawing on our history. For over a century, HIAS has been helping refugees all over the world. And now they find themselves in 20 countries everywhere on the globe. And they provide services for refugees from wars, from climate displacement. They provide services to people who are seeking asylum, a safe home, wherever that is in the world. And they also have lawyers who defend the rights of those immigrants wherever they are to help them rebuild their lives in the country of their choosing. And their mission is really to create a world in which all refugees can be welcomed, feel safe, and are given opportunities to contribute to the society where they relocate. So that's the organization we are supporting this month. And I'm going to invite you here in this space as we turn to page 14 for Shalom Aleichem to find the tzedakah box that is in the back of the room here. If you are participating online, you can go to the Bet Aleph website, see where it says donate. If you are catching us on the app, there is a donate button on the app. Just specify that it is for tzedakah, and we'll make sure your money goes where it needs to go. Shalom Aleichem. We'll invite those who are lighting candles tonight to also come forward and light candles while we sing.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Borechem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuri l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Teitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Every Shabbat, we invite members of our community to come forward and light our community candles. Share with us what they're celebrating, sometimes commemorating, mourning, honoring. And because this weekend is the 30th anniversary of our congregation, I can't believe I'm so old. I was 3 years old when I became the rabbi. We have members who have flown from far and wide to be with us. And it's wonderful to see all the expats coming home for one night only to be with us at Bet Aleph. And we're going to start on our left. Howard Levine and Posey Gehring are back from California, and they are lighting in celebration of being here live and in person. And they are so excited to join us tonight. And we are excited to have you. Next to them, we have Gerardo, Andres, and Hannah. And they're joining us from Florida tonight to celebrate with us and be with us in this momentous event in our community. And they are lighting candles to celebrate exactly being back here and with all of your friends here at Bet Aleph. And it's wonderful to welcome you in our space. Linda Morris is also lighting to celebrate Bet Aleph's 30th anniversary, realizing that she was also 3 years old when she joined, and that she's one of the longest standing members of our community. 26 years. Yeah. So she was 4 years old. That's okay. I was off by 1 year. There are also some of you lighting at home. And Dvorah Levy is lighting for her mother, Judy Levy, to have a full recovery following surgery on her leg. She's feisty and determined to get better. And Dvorah is also lighting her Shabbat candles for her uncle, Asher Etkin, who made his transition on Sunday, February 25th, just this few days ago. May his memory be a blessing. Greg Rubin is lighting his Shabbat candles tonight from home as well, in memory of his mother, Alice Rubin, on her second yard site. And Helen Mossbrucker is lighting her Shabbat candles tonight in memory of her husband, Michael Mossbrucker, on his fourth yard site. And as always, I turn to you and ask you, right here in this space or right there at home, to find what you are lighting your Shabbat candles for tonight. Maybe somebody here in the space did it on your behalf. Maybe you did it yourself at home. What is it that you are celebrating? What is yearning to be kindled in your heart, in your life? What is the light you seek to awaken to pursue, to kindle? The blessing is on page 1. It is traditional for us to close our eyes or cover our eyes as we remember that that which we are blessing is the light awakening within our hearts. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Thank you all. And as everybody's finding their seat, we rise for the Baruch Hu on page 5 for the call to blessing. Join me. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Bless the Eternal, the one who is blessing. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Blessed is the Eternal, the one who is blessing eternally.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yada-da-da-da, 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 am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da.
On top of page 6. On top of page 6, we find the 6 words of the Shema, the central affirmation, the original mantra of Jewish meditation found in the book of Deuteronomy. Join me. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel. The Eternal manifests as all that is. The Eternal is one. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Blessed is the name. The splendor of its presence shines eternally. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu may be seated. We continue with the Ve'ahavta in the middle of the page.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Now we turn to page 21. And at the bottom of the page we meet an evening blessing, an evening prayer, Hashkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. 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 ושמור צאתנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום. והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים.
We turn to page 8 for the Amidah and we rise. We say together, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal One, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid V'Yagid Tehillah Tehilatecha Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid V'Yagid Tehillah Tehilatecha Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid V'Yagid Tehillah Tehilatecha
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah ve'Elohei Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei Hakol וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך,
ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
Please be seated. So we are still at the foot of Mount Sinai. We are nearing the end of the book of Exodus, and we're actually going to spend the whole of Leviticus still at the foot of Mount Sinai. We must have really loved it there. And this is the Torah portion, where Moses has left us and has gone up the mountain and seemingly isn't coming back. He's been going for 40 days and 40 nights. I've been thinking about Moses a lot. I've been thinking about Moses a lot this past week, especially. I think of Moses a lot because it's what I do for a living. I think of Moses. It's a good job. Especially because, he's dead, so he can't argue, he can do whatever you want. But I've been thinking about Moses a lot this past week because I've been really reflecting on how impossible his journey has been. There are different ways of being Jewish, many different ways. There are three that are the most well known. You can be Jewish by birth. You can be Jewish by choice when you convert to Judaism. And another one that is not well known but exists is you can be Jewish by surprise. No, I'm not kidding. You can be Jewish by surprise. And there are many Jews by surprise. Moses is the quintessential Jew by surprise. Think about it. He and many Jewish babies during the Second World War, a very dark turn right there, but it's true. It's an interesting analogy, right? Him and many of the Jewish babies during the Second World War were given to non-Jewish families to be raised so that they can survive and escape death. It's interesting to think about these parallels. And so Moses is raised in the court of Pharaoh as a good Egyptian who knows nothing of his ancestry, of his real ancestry, of his past, until one day, as the Egyptian he thought himself to be, he walks around the Pharaoh dome, the kingdom, whatever, and he discovers as a young adult that, surprise, he's Jewish. And how does he discover that he's Jewish? It's because he feels this inclination, he feels this empathy, he feels his heart beating faster as he sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. And that's how he discovers about himself that there is something else going on. And so Moses is the quintessential, probably the first, Jew by surprise. Just like many Jews who were raised as babies and infants by Christian families during the war, eventually learn about their Jewishness often when the people they thought to be their parents on their deathbed tells them, oh, by the way. And there's a lot of them all over Poland and Eastern Europe. There's also a lot of them who discovered they were Jewish from conversos and marranos, those Jews who escaped from the Inquisition. And the Inquisition kept following them wherever they went, in Latin America, South America, and eventually even in the south of the United States. And there are many rabbis who live in the southern states, and from time to time, somebody comes knocking at their door and said, I think I used to be Jewish, 500 years ago. Why? Because, we do these weird rituals on Friday nights, and we do, and I can't explain that from the church side. So there are many different kinds of Jews by surprise. I've been thinking especially about Moses this past week because I was preparing for this class on the history of Zionism that the second installment happened on Tuesday night. And that part of the class, that second, was partly about Theodor Herzl. Theodor Herzl is, for those of you who might not know, he's the founder of the Zionist movement, the movement was born in the last years of the 19th century. And Theodor Herzl, himself born in Hungary, was a lot like Moses because he was really raised as an Egyptian. He had very little contact with his Jewish roots. In fact, he was raised in a household with a mother who was completely in love with German culture. Everything in their house was German. Even their living in Hungary were speaking German in their house. At home, they spoke German. So enamored their family was with Germany and the German culture, German philosophy, and so on. And so from early childhood, from his mom, he became a German enthusiast, really, and spoke German fluently. After graduating from high school, he moves to Vienna. At least there, everybody speaks German. He goes to college, he goes to law school, but eventually he gravitates towards, journalism. That was really kind of one of his first love. And he becomes an extremely successful journalist. He works for the most prestigious newspaper in Vienna. And he becomes, like Moses, completely assimilated to his Egyptian or Viennese traditions and Viennese way of life. In fact, he becomes not just one of the most popular journalists in this most famous newspaper, he becomes one of the top editors. He becomes one of the top editors. He becomes famous in Austria. He becomes very wealthy. And then to top it all, like the prince of Egypt that he is, just like Moses, he gets the best job. He gets the Rolls Royce of the jobs at the time. He gets sent to Paris to be a foreign correspondent, right? He's got it all. He's got it all. The money, the fame, and he gets to live in Paris at the end of the 19th century. But then, like Moses, it's fascinating. Like Moses, he begins to notice that the Jews aren't treated really well around him. There is something nagging at his heart, tugging at his soul. He wonders how this most enlightened society, the peak of human development at the time, like Egypt, that country, that place isn't welcoming of its Jews. One day he goes out in the field, kind of like Moses, because he has to cover a story that is unfolding in the center of Paris. And like Moses, in the same story, he witnesses a Frenchman beating down a Hebrew. Very incredible similarities in both stories. And this Hebrew that he witnesses being beat up by that Frenchman is Alfred Dreyfus. Alfred Dreyfus was a Jewish officer in the French army who was wrongly accused and condemned for giving secrets to Germany from being a spy, for being a German spy. And the Frenchman who beat him up, well, he didn't exactly beat him up, but he was his commanding officer, and he tear his epaulettes, he tear down his medals that he had won, and he breaks his sword in two, an act of utter humiliation. Not only an act of utter humiliation in front of his brothers in arms, but this is done in a courtyard of a military base that is smack down in the center of Paris, that has complete visibility from the outside. And there is a mob, hundreds of Parisians, witnessing the humiliation of the Jew, shouting, raging, "Death to the Jews, death to the Jews, death to the Jews," for hours. And as somewhat in similar ways that what we are hearing in the streets of America and college campuses right now. And like Moses, Herzl was shocked to witness this happening. And both of them feel so moved by what they saw that both of them embark on a journey. We know that Moses leaves Egypt, that Moses becomes a shepherd and go to find himself for many, many years. Herzl embarks on a different kind of journey. Herzl becomes a writer, an author. He writes a book in reaction to what he witnessed that day in Paris. And when Moses hears God's voice, supposedly at the burning bush, but we know that is all happening inside of him. Moses hears God's voice at the burning bush telling him, "Go back to Egypt. The days of my people in Egypt are numbered. You need to take them out of there." And Herzl, differently, hears the same voice. He realizes, and he writes in his book, that the days of the Jews in Europe are numbered. That there is no stopping anti-Semitism. That the days of the Jews in Europe are numbered, and that he must do all he can to get the Jews out of there as fast as possible. And he decides that it would be pointless to get the Jews out of France or Germany or wherever, to relocate them to another non-Jewish country, because he understood that anti-Semitism would rise there soon thereafter once the Jews settled. And so he resolved that there was no other option really for Jewish survival than to create or recreate a Jewish land where Jews could be back home. And so he devised that the only way forward was to return to the promised land, to go back to the Holy Land, just like Moses. Just like Moses. It's quite stunningly uncanny, really, the parallels between those two stories of these two men. Thousands and thousands of years apart, if Moses ever existed. And just like Moses came back to Egypt and told the Hebrews there, "Guys, we got to get out of here. Our days in this land are now numbered. We have to get out." Just like Moses was faced with harsh condemnation by his own people, who were so afraid that he would raise Pharaoh's anger, telling him, just shh, don't say things like that, because they're going to make our lives harsher. They're going to give us less straw to make the same number of bricks. And so did the Jews of Europe respond to Herzl when he told them it's time to go. They told him the same thing. Don't speak those crazy theories out loud. You're going to make anti-Semitism even worse with all of your crazy ideas. You're gonna tell the Gentiles that we're gonna leave now when we barely had convinced them that we would be in solidarity with them, that we were French, that we were German, and now you're telling them no, stop it. They couldn't hear him. They couldn't hear him. They couldn't see his vision. They were like the Israelites in the story. They were befallen by kotzer ruach, it says in the Torah. A complete disbelief, a disconnect from their source, a disconnect from their soul. The Jews of Europe didn't want to hear him. They were comfortable in Egypt. Some of them were wealthy, some of them were successful, just like he was. Don't come to disturb our peace. We're going to be just fine with Pharaoh as we are. This is the lot that we have chosen. These two stories are incredibly similar and parallel. Because even in the end, like Moses, Herzl set it all in motion. By 1897, there was the first Zionist Congress in Basel in Switzerland, and the Zionist movement was born in that Congress, in that moment. And he's going to work tirelessly to get the Jews to the Promised Land. He's going to exhaust himself, in fact. And just like Moses, he's not going to even realize that it's working, because all he hears, just like Moses, is these Hebrews complaining about everything, complaining about him, telling him to be quiet, to not. In the story, they wanted to go back to Egypt. In Herzl's life, they didn't want to leave Egypt. And actually, even in the Moses story, many Jews didn't leave Egypt. He set it all in motion, Herzl. He saw that if the Jews of Western Europe didn't want to move, the Jews of Eastern Europe were eager to leave because of the pogroms, because of the violence, because of the insecurity that they felt there. And actually, in the story, these are the Jews that that leave Europe and move to the Promised Land, move to 2 million of them to America, actually. And like Moses, Herzl never gets to see the Promised Land himself. He never gets there. He dies actually 7-8 years after the beginning of the movement in the early years of the 20th century. In 1897, as he writes about the first Congress that just closed, he writes that he has ushered in the creation of a Jewish state. He writes that in his journal. We have the journals. And he writes that in 50 years, there will be a Jewish state in the world. This was 1897. In 1947, the United Nations, in November of 1947, the United Nations voted for the partition of Palestine between the Jewish state and the Palestinian state to be born in the spring that followed. Exactly how he had predicted. Exactly how he had predicted. Was he a prophet? Was he a visionary? This person Herzl was deeply connected into the fiber of the universe, for sure. I wondered this week as I was learning about and seeing all of those incredible parallels. I wonder if someone like Herzl came to America today and told us that our days as Jews in this land are numbered. I wonder if someone came and saw all the anti-Semitic shouts and mob violence on our streets and campuses from Charlottesville to Berkeley. I wondered if we would be able to hear I wonder how we would welcome a Herzl today, a Moses today. Would we be able to hear their warning? Herzl came to that realization that the days of the Jews in Europe were numbered and started to advocate for the Jews to leave in 1894. That was the book. That was the Dreyfus affair, L'affaire Dreyfus, and the book that followed, 1894. And if we look at 50 years, right, in 1897, he predicted 50 years to the creation of the State of Israel. In 1894, he predicted that there will be the end of the Jews. But he didn't say in 50 years, but 50 years later, that was the peak of the Nazi machine of killing and murdering the Jews of Europe. And really, for all intent and purposes, besides in France maybe and a little bit in England, there are no Jews left in Europe. For all intent and purposes, Jewish life has been extinguished in most of Europe at this point. So I wondered, could we really hear him today? Could we hear a Herzl today if he came on TV and told us, or if he came to our synagogues and told us, from what I am seeing, the days of the Jews in America are numbered. Or I wonder if we would say what the assimilated Jews in Europe in the 1930s still were saying, that it could never happen. It could never happen in Germany. It could never happen here in such a robust democracy. They said it could never happen here in such a powerful democracy, the wealthiest country in the world, the most advanced intellectual and technological nation the world had ever witnessed. It could never happen here. Are we so sure? Are we so sure? So I pray that we remain clear-eyed. I don't know if we have 50 years, we might not. But I pray that we remain clear-eyed. I pray that we learn from our Torah and the story of Moses. I pray that we learn from our history and the story of Herzl. I pray that we remember that when we came to the Promised Land in Torah, when we came to Egypt, in Torah, it was a promised land. The opening of the book of Exodus describes Egypt as with the same adjectives, with the same notions of how we would describe the promised land. We were welcomed there. We were given the best of land. We became wealthy. We assimilated. We were part of the land. We were one of them until a new Pharaoh came who knew not Joseph. Until we became the fifth column for Pharaoh inside of Egypt, which happened to us with the church, which happened to us over and over and over again, wherever we've been. But the teaching is always the same teaching. That it seems that what we think is the promised land becomes the next place of slavery, of enslavement. Every promised land becomes the next place of our enslavement. That has been true in our historical life. That has been true in our biblical stories. That has been true if you look in our own personal lives as well. There is a cycle. And there has been a cycle. And for the Jews, there have been a cycle. For the Jews, there is no arc of history. There's just cycles of history. And I wonder if we will be able to recognize where on the cycle we find ourselves right now. Where are we? Are we close to the middle? Are we nearing the end? And if any time soon a Moses or a Herzl shows up, I pray that we may have the clarity of mind to deeply listen and heed their call. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Amen. On page 18, Eli, Eli.
Eli, Eli, שלום ייגמר לעולם, החול והים, ריש רוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם, החול והים, וריש ורוש של המים, ורק השמיים, תפילת האדם. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
And as the lights grow dim in the sanctuary, I invite you to join me in a few moments of meditation together. To find our breath once more. And to let the body relax, releasing any tension we might find anywhere, especially around the belly, the jaw, the muscles of the face. Just to navigate this thin line between falling asleep and being completely alert. Relax, but completely alert at the same time. surrendered, but completely aware all at once. Shema Israel. Listen. Listen, spiritual seeker. Listen. Pay attention to this moment. Listen to this breath coming in. Listen to this breath going out. Listen to the heartbeat. Listen to the sounds around. Listen. All that you are aware of, Israel, is me. All that you are aware of, Israel, spiritual wrestler, is me. Ein od milvado, there is nothing else but that which is everything. This breath is not your breath, it is my breath. You can pretend ownership of the breath, but the breath exists whether you're conscious or unconscious. This is my breath. All of that you experience is one. There is no two-ness. There is no inside or outside. Everything is inside. This sound that you hear, you're aware of it inside. These images that you see, you're aware of them inside. Adonai Echad. That is the oneness. That is not a two-ness. That I am. Shema Israel. Listen. Pay attention. Be aware. I am the one. I am. 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 I am. And in that space of oneness, in that space where we understand that we're all expression of that one light, that one vibration, that one presence. In that space, we invite all those we know to be in need of healing, that they may know the center of their being as one as well, that they may know their true self as the one presence. On this Shabbat, and in that one presence, we hold in light of healing David Mark, Danielle Clark, Maxwell Bernard, Lynn Carroll, Lawrence Stern, Elizabeth Heath, Maggie Pisner, Ronnie Shapiro, Margaret Bergman-Ness, Blythe Horman, Kalish Liviel, Amy Lowe, Noah Clark, Janet Crowley, Carlos Taylor, Marianne Tierney, Deb Cohan, Deborah Liebes, Wendy Pender, Judy Cohen, Bob Krulish, Amy Austin, Edward Tansman, Rachel Naomi Raymond, Anne-Mary Regalado, Laura Sack-Klein, Julie Wilchins, John Fisher, Mary Allison Castleberry, Nagy Girgis, Dave Milochi, Alyssa Jeff, Katie Haybarth, Audrey Chase, Pat Hoagland, Steve Doyne, Beth Doyne, Ross Kling, Awilda Verdejo, Kathy Wack, Bob Wack, Jan Meadow, Jim Halverson, Jan Haybarth, Zoe Sutter, Robert Crank, Mark Crockett, Reverend Susie Robertson, Valerie Shunke, Dan Trudeau, Stephanie Prince. We name in our hearts the names of those we invite into the circle of healing on this Shabbat. May they be healed in the waters of healing.
ישיר ישראל את השירה הזאת, אלי ונולה. אז ישיר ישראל את השירה הזאת, אלי ונולה. Waters of healing, waters of life, we thirst for love and truth. Waters of healing, waters of life, rise up and we'll sing with you. אז ישיר ישראל את השירה הזאת, אלי ונולה. אז ישיר ישראל את השירה הזאת, אלי ונולה. Waters of healing, waters of life, we thirst for love and truth. Waters of healing, waters of life, rise up and we'll sing with you.
And as we near the conclusion of our Shabbat service together, I invite you to turn to page 12 and to rise for the Aleinu. And join me. We are the ones given this way of praising the Holy One of all being, that we might understand and express the greatness of the One who shapes all creation. We celebrate our uniqueness and that of others, and seek to discover the wonder that we are. Therefore, we bend the knees, we bow, and we proclaim our gratitude before the ruler of all rulers, the Holy One of all being. As it is said, then we shall truly realize the Eternal One as universal being. And on that day, the unity of being shall be celebrated by all. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad. And before we continue with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 13, we take a moment to hold in our hearts and in our minds the faces of those we remember on this night, those who have made their transition from this level of being and are continuing on their journey into the next. Those we carry with us in our hearts in light of love and compassion, in light of acceptance. This Shabbat we hold in this light of memory those who have made their transition in recent days and weeks, those for whom we still hold Shiva or Shloshim. Melanie Cornfield Grimes, a friend of Ellen Lyon. Marilyn Lytle, family friend of Stu Heller. Asher Etkin, uncle of Dvorah Levi. Robert Friedman, a friend of Peter Herford. Bert Mann, a friend of Sharon Mayo. On this Shabbat, we also hold in light of memory those who have made their transition this past year. Jeremy Gordon, Nancy Green, Jerry Petitz, James Beal, Jim Gorham, David Lee Broad, Amitai Etzioni, Laura Lane McCants, Victoria Ashker, Donna Glosser, Dan Springer, Judy Simon O'Brien, Andrew Simberek, Judith Gorlick, Hannelore Ebert Cronenberg, Simone Ladruma, Robert Lester. On the Shabbat, we also hold in light of memory those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their transition, happens to be at this time of the year. Herman Kreisny, Alice Rubin, Janice Stern, Michael Mosbrucker, Judy Dorschuk, Pauline Bernstein. And as we share the words of the Kaddish, we hold all those we remember tonight. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabba, be'alma divera chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol bichata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. Osei Shalom bimromav, hu ya'asei Shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony above make peace for us, for all the household of Israel, and for all the peoples of the world. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Just a few announcements. Tomorrow morning we'll continue with studying the Guide of the Perplexed together. It's at 10:30. If you want to come in person, it's across the street in the Bet Aleph office. If not, we can invite you to do that online. You might want to email me to get the Zoom link so you can join. Tomorrow, as has been said, is the 30th anniversary celebration of our congregation. Another miracle that happened. 30 years, it's quite amazing. So I hope to see all of you tomorrow night with your dancing shoes. I will be back in this space on Sunday morning. I've been invited to speak at Center for Spiritual Living. There is a 9 a.m. service, which you won't be there because we're going to party so late Saturday night. But I expect you at 11 a.m. And I think I'm going to be talking about what it means to be holy. Is that even possible? We talked about Purim, swinging Shushan, that is happening March 24th. That's important to know because usually we have our Purim celebration on Friday nights. For Shabbat, this is going to be on Sunday night. So mark your calendars, Sunday, March 24th. Okay, that's a lot happening just in the next few days. Join us downstairs for the oneg, please. It'll be lovely to see old faces and new faces again. We come together to bless the challah, to have a little bit of a kiddush, a blessing over wine, and then we just stay in community. So if you're not in a hurry tonight, spend another 20 minutes or so and stay with us. We'll close back on page 13. We're not leaving page 13, I guess. At the bottom of the Hebrew is the Oseh Shalom that we're going to sing on our way out of Shabbat. Well, out of this space. Shabbat continues through tomorrow night.
Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akol Yisrael, Ve'akol Yashvei Tevel, Ve'imru, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Can you do a little outro? Help us with returning the sanctuary to the CSL specs. That would be great. Please stay behind.